Hello and welcome to the Pollinator Parade, presented to you by myself, Busy Izzy, as part of All in the Mind Festival. Today we're going to be talking about the importance of pollinators on our planet whilst making one of these amazing Pom Pom bees. But first of all, can you think of any pollinators?
Pollination is the act of transferring pollen grains from the male anther of the flower to the female stigma in order to carry on the next generation of plants.
Pollinators come in all different shapes and sizes, from butterflies to moths, beetles, wasps, birds, small mammals, and most importantly, our bees. The small but mighty bee has just been declared the most important being on our planet and is responsible for a massive 1/3 of all of our food production. And that's not just the fruits and vegetables that we have every day in our diet, but also all the crop production that's needed to fuel the meat and dairy industry. I'll be sharing some more facts about our little buzzing friends later in the video, but for now, let's get on and make one of our bees.
So you can make these awesome pom-pom bees with a few things that you might be able to find around your house in your recycling at the local craft store or online. And they're really great to have in the garden to help attract other pollinators in too. They're quite quick and simple and most importantly fun to make. So you need a few things. First off, some scrap card. Next off, some sharp scissors, which you may need an adult to help you with throughout the project. 2 lengths of wool. I've gone for a yellow and a black and white, so I can make different stripes for my bee, but you can use any kind of wool. Some strong glue is good for decorating your bee at the end. A plastic bottle, which you may need for your wings, again, to find in the recycling. Some googly eyes, tend to bring your bee to life at the end. And finally, I find it's useful to have 2 circular objects to draw around. The sellotape comes in useful for decorating at the end as well. And then you'll need a pen to draw around those things. Alright, so first off, take your larger object to draw around onto the card and make that circle all the way round, and then a second circle. You can go ahead and cut those out. Once you've gone around those 2 shapes on every 2 circles. And so take your smallest circle, I've gone for a 10p here, pop it in the middle and draw around that on both circles. Then you'll need to create 2 lines on the bottom edge of the circle to create almost like a keyhole shape, and then you can go ahead and cut that shape out on both pieces. Remember, you can pause the video anytime you like if you feel like you need to catch up. Once you've cut out your first keyhole shape, you'll need to cut out the other shape in exactly the same way, because both these pieces of card need to lay on top of each other, and this is crucial for how the bee will come together. Here we are. like so. And now this is where we can bring our wool in. Take a length of wool and tie this to the middle of your shape. You'll need to have two lengths hanging down. So you can have a knot in the middle to hold the two pieces together. Or, alternatively, you can do a loop like this, so that thread is then secure, hanging down in the middle. And you'll need that at the end. So take another strip of wool, around 2 arms length, and tie this to the edge of your keyhole shape. And once you've done that, you want to wrap the wool around nice and tightly. Remember, you can pause the video at any time if you feel like you need to catch up. And keep going all the way around with your wool, making sure it's nice and tight, looping up through the middle and then over the edge. Again and again until you get to the end, and then tie that off nice and tight. You can go around a couple of times just to make sure it's not going to go anywhere. You can take off the extra pieces. So I'm going to go for my black wool, my black and white striped now, to create a striped effect of your bee. But as I said before, it doesn't matter what colour you want to make your bee. Your bee can be red, blue, pink. They come in all different varieties and shapes and sizes out there, so you make it with whatever you like. But I'm going for traditional colours today. So ensure when you get to the middle of your keyhole shape, you leave those original 2 pieces of wool hanging down, and continue with your 3rd and 4th stripes till you get to the end. And in the meantime, I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of my favourite insects. First off is our beloved bumblebee, recognisable for its fluffy rear and its deep buzz. The humble bumblebee is responsible for a huge percentage of the crop population across the globe. Some farmers will even hire a colony of these bees to do the crucial work that we can't. Bumblebees live and work in colonies of around 50 to 200, with a queen and a working hierarchy. Honeybees are smaller and less furry than the well-loved bumble, living in colonies of up to 50,000 individuals, all working in harmony. They can communicate through dancing and releasing smelly chemicals called pheromones. How are we doing with our wrapping? Remember to keep going all the way around, pushing up the wool as you go along so it remains nice and tight and firm all the way around the piece of card. It may not be a surprise if I told you that the bees need our help. So out of 20,000 species, 1 in 10 is actually endangered. And this is due to a number of things. A huge part is that we've lost 97% of wildflower meadows since the 1930s. If you are interested to know more, then you can keep an eye on my YouTube channel, which is Izzy Ironside, for more information on how we can help to look after our bees. So as you can see, I'm nearly at the end of my wool wrapping around my card. So I'm just going to finish off this last section here, and then we can watch the bee come to life. So for the final phase of making your bee, you'll need to use your sharp scissors again. So if you need to find an adult to help you, you can pause the video. Because it can be a little bit tricky, but I'll show you the best way of doing it. So once you've tied off your wool nice and tightly at the end, and cut off the loose bits there. And now once you've completed this last phase, you can go on to the final stage of making your pom-pom. So what I find easiest is if you turn the keyhole shape up to face you, and you'll see the two flaps from the cardboard shapes that you made before. And then take the left piece of wool and pull it in between these two bits of card and begin to cut the loops that you've been making all the way around. And what I find easiest is if you hold the shape down with one hand, and you can keep all the bits of wool in place while you cut all the loops with the other hand, holding it down and pulling the wool up towards the middle. Just keep going. It doesn't matter if you cut through one of the loops of wool of the original pieces that we tied on at the beginning, because you're holding down all of those other bits of wool. And that's it. Keep going until you get around to the other side, just making sure that you're pulling up that piece of wool that's going all the way around there. And then when you've got to the end, you want to loop the piece of wool back round onto itself and tie in a very tight knot. And I'd go around 2 or 3 times with very tight knots again. So once you take the cardboard away, you don't lose all of these little bits of pom-pom that we've just created. That's it, one more time for good luck. Nice and tight. Oops. So if that happens, if you lose one of your bits of wool, if you cut through it while you're cutting all of the little loops around the edge, it doesn't matter, because you've still got those 2 bits of card in place there. So what you can do is just take another piece of wool and follow in between the edges of the card and go round, just to make sure that you've got everything nice and tightly in place before you take the pieces of card away, and we can reveal our pom-pom. So once you're happy that you've got enough knots in place that you're not going to lose all those little pieces of wool, just pop one more in for good luck. Then you can take out the pieces of cardboard like so, and you're left with this wonderful fluffy pom-pom. You might have some excess bits which you can just take off. You can trim the pom-pom down as well, give it a bit of a fluffing, just make all the pieces nice and neat. I like to leave one hanging so you've got something to thread your bee up with. And there we are. So before we move on to the decoration, make sure you're happy with all of the excess lengths. So we need to get our pom-pom looking like this guy now. So you'll need your plastic bottle again, and cut out 2 tiered drop shapes. I usually do one and then lay one on top to create that same shape again, and cut round it. You don't have to use plastic bottle though, you can use some card or some paper. Make it your own creation. I find a bit of sticky tape can be useful here, just to attach those two wings together. So once you have a pair of wings, like so, bend them back on themselves a little bit, give themselves some shape. You can pot the fluff on your bee. I like to do it just in front of where the thread is, where it's going to hang down. And then pop a bit of strong glue in the partition of the wool or on the edges of the wings. Squeeze the wool into it so it gets a good grip. And then finally, the googly eyes. So select your pair. And I've also got some pom-poms here, just to make the eyes pop out that little bit more. A touch more glue. And position them as you would like with your googly eyes. And then he comes to life. And there it is. One awesome pom-pom bee. So you'll need to leave your bee to one side to dry before you decide a good spot for it to go in the garden. And these are great for encouraging other pollinators to come and see what's in your garden too. Finally, the antenna. So I've got here an Alice band with just two very strong zip ties I found at home. I've cut them short and made two pom-poms. Trim them a little bit smaller than the bee. Just a bit of strong glue on the ends of the antenna to hold the pom-poms into place. You can just squeeze them on like that. And the zip ties only work if they're really thick ones, or you've got much smaller pom-poms, one way or the other. But this creates a really great springy pair of antennae.
So what have we learned today, other than how to make one of our awesome pom-pom bees? It's extremely important for us to realise the need for these superhero insects across the planet. And what more can we do? You can find out in my next video about how to make a bee and insect house. There's lots of other ways that we can help our pollinating friends as well. The most important thing to remember is that we need to plant more flowers. I put these in my garden only 3 months ago, and look at them now. But for now, that is all that we've got time for today, so I thank you very, very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves, and I wish you a wonderful rest of your day. Take care. Bye.